Hey there, Kia owners. Dustin here at etrailer.com, and today on our 2022 Kia Telluride, we're going to be taking a look at the Swagman XC2 bike rack. The Swagman XC2 bike rack is a platform-style bike rack. It holds your bike in place by putting pressure on your top tube into the included wheel cradles. Now, for that reason, we don't recommend it for carbon fiber bikes because there is frame contact, but for all your other bikes, it's going to be an excellent choice to get your two bikes down the road. Now, as opposed to your standard tray style, we do have these hoops, and owing to the fact that you have a round tire, obviously, it's going to work with many size tires because it'll allow that tire to sink down just as far as it needs to support it, and it is getting that support from the down pressure. Our hoops here are adjustable along the frame of the bike rack so that you can accommodate many different shapes and styles of bikes, whether it be women's, children's, or alternative frame style bikes. Speaking of those different styles of bikes, many of them will work because of our hook style. It'll push down on that, so even if you have a lower frame, it'll come down here and it can push on that. In extreme cases, you may need a bike adapter bar, which is available here at eTrailer, but most of your bikes are going to have no problem fitting on here, and the frame hook itself is padded, so it's not going to cause any harm to your bike. When you are ready to remove your bikes, there's a simple latch mechanism here. You can take the whole frame off, the whole hook off, and I like to do that and just set it out of the way because that's going to make it significantly easier to get your bike out of the way. Then we can simply put that back in so that it's there for next time. Now, one problem a lot of people do complain about with the platform rack is it's very difficult to get anything out of your rear hatch with this mast in place, but Swagman has thought about that, and there is actually a pin down here that you are able to pull, and removing that pin allows you to tilt this to either side of the rack, creating space so that you can get into the rear of your vehicle. That way you can get out any gear, groceries, anything you might have with you on your trip. With the mast back in place, I do want to go over some measurements with you regarding the bike rack, and that way you can get an idea of how it's going to interact with your Telluride. Now, one thing to keep in mind is the overall length you've added to your Kia, which it looks like is about 23 inches. Keep that in mind when you're pulling into a tight parking spot or trying to get your Telluride into the garage overnight with this guy still in place. Another measurement you'll want to keep in mind is your ground clearance. Now, because we do have a rise in our shank here, it's not going to be a real issue, but if you were, say, backing up against a lower clearance wall or had something you were trying to have clearance for in your garage, you may need to know that, and it's 18.5 inches to the bottom of our shank here, so I don't see any real issues there unless you've got something quite large you're trying to back up against. Speaking of getting into your garage, there's another hidden feature here. If we pull these pins and reinstall them, you're going to see these sides can actually fold up, and what this is great for is actually taking it off of the vehicle and storing it. When it's not in use, it's going to take up significantly less space. So with it in this position, something we like to call the suitcase position, it's going to take up a significantly less footprint in your garage, so you can easily toss this behind a shelf or on the side of your garage without it being so in the way. Now, it does secure into the 2-inch by 2-inch receiver on your Telluride with an anti-rattle bolt. And what that does is it replaces the traditional pin and clip and tightens in, pushing the shank against the side of your receiver tube so that it takes away all the shake, play, and rattle that would traditionally be in between that connection. So you can see here I'm shaking the rack, and actually I'm shaking the whole vehicle because they are essentially one piece. That's going to remove all that rattle that you would hear in between that connection and just make for a more pleasant ride for you and your bikes. My final thoughts on this for Telluride owners is it's a great entry-level bike rack. It's gonna not have all the bells and whistles and frills that another one may have. You're not seeing a cable lock here or anything like that, but it's a great way to get you started and get you on the road to enjoying your adventures. And that was a look at the Swagman XC2 bike rack for your 2022 Kia Telluride.